Thank you. It would be bad if we didn't have the stream up. Stream's up.
There we go.
Oh, we didn't catch that beautiful pre-show stuff though. But it means I won't have to edit the video before it goes up onto YouTube.
Oh, and there was awesome talk about kittens and
Yeah, we missed everything. I suck. All right, we're coming up.
that's
3, 2, 1, go. The use of electronic cigarettes should be restricted to those of legal smoking age. We neither endorse nor desire you to use nicotine. The information and opinions voiced on this show are accurate to the best of our knowledge as of this date. Welcome to Vapelink.
Oh, that's it. Holy wow, we're rolling. Here we are at what is this, episode 8?
Nine.
Maybe 9? 9. We're on episode 9. Welcome everybody. Of course, I'm Basil Ray, and I'm joined by two fantastic, upstanding American citizens, Mr. Kazakan and Sensefield, or Field of Vapor. Call him what you will, but only call him nice things because he's a nice guy. So here we are. It is Monday, November 12th, 2012, the post-election edition of Vapelink, where we're not going to talk about any real politics, which is the beauty of it all, because we're all really sick of it. So here we are tonight. I've got a bunch of stuff set up in front of me. Just a quick rundown. I've got the iHybrid set up, and I've been vaping the tar out of this. Well, there's no tar in it. Vaping a lot of this Sigtex Crispy Treat mixed by our good friend Mr. Ripple in Stillwater. I've got the GGTS that I'm actually dripping in, which is a wild time, with the fancy lid here and the air control tank, with some Jersey tap water from Eminent Vapor. Either of the Michaels, what do you guys got going?
I have
Sense,
the
what do you got?
Zmax version 2, the OCD tank, which I bought this because you did a review of it, actually. And it's pretty much all I use. I have, what else do I have? I'm actually using Peachy Keen from Ovale. I suddenly discovered peach when I was at VaporCon. I bought a peach from Grim Green, actually, in Namber Juice. And I loved it so much, but I can't buy any more of it. So this is actually pretty close to it. But if anybody out there knows of a peach flavor that's awesome and the liquid is clear, let me know, because I'm looking for something that doesn't cost an arm and a leg, because this stuff costs an arm and a leg.
The
How about you,
best
Kaz?
peach liquid that I've had came from Vermilion River, and it's fairly clear. I'm not a big
Really?
peach guy. Yeah.
You
Kazi,
have-
what do you got going up there?
Just kidding. Everything's working tonight. You guys didn't see that, so it's me being a funny guy. I've got my Zmax version 2, and I'm vaping an unusual thing for me. I'm vaping a dual coil tank. Not because I like them, but because so many of the people who watch my reviews want to know how it performs with a dual coil. So I'm giving it a shot with a dual coil, and this has been my main PV for tomorrow will be a week, and I'll probably post a review on it in the next few days, or at least by our next show.
So you're really catering to the crowd, is what you're saying.
Sort of. I got enough requests about it that I figured it would be wise to test it, and so I've tested it at the same voltages against the Provari and at the same wattages against like my bombshell stinger and that kind of thing. And trying to collect some data so that when I do the review and I talk about it, I sort of have a perspective on it. I don't like the dual coils. I'm not enjoying it so much. The vape is too warm for me.
Do you remember when vaping and reviewing was less about charts and graphs and real specific numbers, and it was more about like, oh my God, this thing feels so good, and the button is
Yeah.
really clicky. It's awesome. You remember those days?
Yes, I do, and I miss them, but I still try to do those. I still try to do those types of videos. Um,
I miss them, but I don't miss having to vape those things that we thought were
no,
awesome at the time.
no, no,
Yeah.
no.
Okay, guys, I'm guilty.
Yeah, yeah. Basil set you up good that time, didn't he?
I didn't.
In chat,
Well, you know
chats,
what?
they're
You
making
know what?
funny in chat, man. They're having a good time.
Okay, but you know what? In defense of like doing the technical stuff and the numbers and uh, everything that was posted with modulation was tuned wrong. And I think that eventually what you're going to see is these charts aren't going to be all that important in a couple months because you're going to get a device and you're going to maybe hook it up to your scope and see that it's correct. And then you're going to get on video and you're going to say, hey, it's correct. You know, there's going to be no need for all the charts to show you how wrong the device is,
Well,
right?
I mean, you can tell by vaping it. I mean, that's just the thing. I mean, it,
Uh,
if you've been around for a little while, you can tell when you vape it, and that's the thing. But there was a lot of surrounding the PWM devices. Wasn't there a lot of fanboyism that sort of made people think that 4 volts should be on one vapes better than 4 volts on another?
I'll tell
Well,
you what.
there's always that kind of fanboyism. I mean, there
Yeah,
just is. You want to like what you want to like, and you're entitled to that.
I suppose.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But you know, I was like I guess jaded, and I thought that like pulse width modulation was like amazing. You know, because it was vaping so much better than other devices set at
Yeah,
similar voltage.
you're making my point for me. I mean, because somebody said it at 4.1, they think it's at 4.1. They vape it, they're getting 5.7. They think it vapes fantastically. The only reason I detected an error was because I can't vape at 4.7. That's way too hot for me.
5.7.
Yeah, 5.7. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because now my opinion of some e-cigarettes that I've used in the past, like the SVR, it's different now. I'm like, whoa, wait a second. All it's doing is, telling me that it's set to 4 volts and, giving me 5 volts or 4.7 volts or something like that. So now, like, I feel like the wool has been pulled off of my eyes. Thank you to Cole from Australia
Absolutely.
for that. And I think that China is listening, sort of. So let's talk about the Zmax. Kaz, you have been
It did
using
kind of
this.
get set up for us to go right into that Zmax, didn't it? You like how that worked? That was a smooth segue.
I like it.
You just ruined it.
I wanted to call out the beauty of said segue because I don't have much input. I don't own a Zmax, but both of you guys have the Zmax version 2 in your hands right now.
We
But you
do.
have questions.
I probably do. I'm getting one. It just hasn't gotten here yet.
Oh, so you've already ordered it.
So that means next week we're going to do another ZMAX show.
Why not?
We're just gonna every
Every
show from this point on
man.
is now gonna be about the Zmax.
Yeah.
Welcome to Zmax Link.
Okay.
So, where do you guys want to start in
Show.
terms of the Zmax? Where do you wanna start?
www.zmax live show on Mondays at 9:30.
All right. Who's going first here? We're gonna.
Cause you've been using it
Yeah.
just about as long as I have, and some people here have heard from me because I posted a video
Right. Right.
magically while I was at work.
Sure.
I set it up in the morning to encode and upload, and it
Uh-huh.
took 8 hours to do that. Not going to do that again.
Right.
Uh, but so let's hear from you. What are your impressions thus far?
Well, I this is a real beguiling device to
Reasons.
me. I'm I'm sort of beguiled by this device. Half of it I really like, and the other half of it I really don't like. And that's just when it's set for RMS. Uh, on my example, when I set it for wattage regulation and I set it to a wattage that I like, it starts out with a really high voltage and then drops. So you can hear it in the cartomizer. It'll be like, tss, and it no matter what vape I get, even with RMS on, it's still hotter than I would like. So I have to back it off a little bit. The other complaint I have with wattage regulation on this is that it's only in point 0.5 watt point 0.5 watt increments.
Increments.
Yeah, and that creates a little bit of an issue for me because I'd like to get in between, and I can't. On the voltage regulated side, it's for a low wattage vapor like myself, it is absolutely absolutely and completely the equal to the Provari. Uh, and so that's the part I like about it. So when I start talking about this as a whole, for the price, I can't argue with it, but there's things about this thing I don't like. I don't like it. I don't like it. Um, I like
Now, are you
things
primarily using it with the single 18650 or with the stacked batteries?
single 18650. Right. My intent on this device was, and I've seen the charts from Mike's review that there is some performance difference between stacked batteries and not stacked batteries. In the single battery, but I'm not necessarily sure that those performance differences are large enough that I think people should care. Yeah, maybe with the dual coils, but outside of dual coil usage, if you put because for me, it's stacking it against a Provari or a kicked tube mod. That's my benchmark. It's a Provari or a kicked tube mod, and so it succeeds against the Provari and it fails against a kicked tube mod. And that's also assuming a low wattage vapor. A higher wattage vapor isn't going to be as sensitive to a half a watt difference.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Uh, I didn't play around too much in the watt section or the watt settings because I like variable voltage better. I like having that control. You know, I, I want to do something. I want to feel like I'm doing something. Like turning it up a little bit because I want it a little hotter, turning it down a little bit because I want it a little cooler. You know, I don't want it. I don't want something that vapes the same all the time. And does variable wattage vape the same all the time? If you put a 1.5 ohm Cardo on it and then you put a 3 ohm Cardo on it, is it going to feel like the same vape even though technically you're getting the same watts?
Well, I mean that's an argument that I've had for a long time that variable wattage is not necessarily a panacea because differences between cartomizers and atomizers often
Yes.
require you to tweak. But on the whole, I do like variable wattage, especially in my kick tube mods, because as I'm changing through equipment I already know works. Like I know it's not. I have two tanks with me with two separate cartomizers. I'm out for the night. One's got one flavor, one's got another flavor, and I know they're both around 3 ohms, so and they work. All I have to do is flip across, and I get the exact same vape. That part
And
of
I've
it I
been
like.
saying kind of the same thing for a long time, right? That, if you think back to late 2010, mid 2010, when low resistance atomizers were the newest thing, like we almost take it for granted now that like you had to vape 6 volts because low resistance atomizers just at one point they didn't exist. There was no such thing. And, back in those days, people would say, well, it's pretty much the same as an 18650 off the charger with a 1.5 ohm atomizer as it is with about a 3 ohm atomizer at 5 volts, and it's just not the same. You can say the wattage is the same, and generally speaking, I think when you're talking like to like, you're talking atomizers to atomizers, it's going to be pretty close in terms of the performance. But I think flavors change, and just the size of the coil you need to get to those different resistances. That just wattage to wattage isn't always the same. I mean, that's kind of the moral of the story. It's not always the same,
Yeah,
but it's close.
I would agree. You know
Well,
what? I got a slice of your review, Mike. I got a rough cut out of your review with some of the voltage charts. Would you like me to play that?
sure, as long as it's
Okay.
not too long.
No, 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 no. I only grabbed 14 minutes, so here we go.
You grabbed all
Oh
14
man,
minutes.
This is
I'm
I was going to
getting.
this
shoot
is
higher. I was
just
going to say
the
25, but
chart section for folks that are interested in voltage and
Okay,
stuff.
so lots of information up here. Obviously, we're looking at the Zmax. It's set to RMS. This is the resistance, and we have one battery in the device. So as you can see, we have some red here, here,
oh, we could narrate it.
Here.
Oh wait,
here, and here. Anywhere where you see red in any of these charts, that means there was a voltage deficit. So in this instance, it was set to 3.5 volts, and we only got 3.28 volts RMS. For the most part, you can see that if you have a 1.5 ohm cartomizer, it's going to be somewhat accurate, and you're going to sort of level off at 4.67 volts. So you're going to hit, whether it's an amp limit or the limitations of the battery, you're just not going to be able to hit, above 4.67 volts. This is actually one battery, same resistance, but set to mean. And as you can see, set to 3.5 volts, we're at 3.96 volts. Almost all across the board, we're seeing settings that just don't look right. And that's why the mean setting is absolutely worthless. So you're still hitting a barrier around 4.68 volts, 4.7 volts, something like that. You're not gaining anything from having the mean setting. So here it is with two batteries. Now the funny thing is, with two batteries set to RMS, we're set to RMS again. We got two batteries in the Zmax. It actually will fire a 1.5 ohm cartomizer at above 6 volts. That's craziness. That's my opinion. It's craziness. We do have slight voltage deficits, but for the most part, very accurate. So here it is, two batteries, Zmax, 1.5 ohm resistance, set to mean. And again, we are just overshooting all of our voltages like crazy. With two batteries, you are still limited to slightly over 6 volts. Again, you're getting nothing from that mean setting other than inaccurate LCD screens. Now we're looking at the 2.5 ohm cartomizer. We're at one battery set to RMS. The rest of these charts are going to be set to RMS. As you can see, there are slight voltage deficits here and there, but for the most part, very accurate. We do sort of hit the limits of the device right here, or the limits of the battery. Now, it is something that should be noted. Your readings will depend on how strong of a charge your battery has. So it's not 100% regulated. So here we're looking at that same 2.5 ohms, only with two batteries. As you can see, it's actually slightly more accurate. There is less of a voltage deficit, so there's less red in this chart. Now we are looking at a resistance of 3 ohms, one battery. We're starting to see a good deal of voltage deficit in this chart, but for the most part, again, somewhat close. If you're off by 0.2 volts, I'm not going to cry about that. It's much better than it was on the version 1 Zmax. So now this is with 2 batteries, same resistance, and we are seeing more accurate, less red, less of a voltage deficit.
So there we have it. So that was your basic analysis there. Did you find any of that surprising, Mike?
I didn't find any of it surprising. I expected that. Um, yeah, I mean, that was my best impression of like if Phil Basardo and John Madden had a love child, it would have been those charts. But
I don't
no,
even know what
not
to say to that. That's quite the analogy, isn't it?
that was that
So
was a that
you
was that was
had
like what I like
the
to call a joke.
V1, and from the V1 to the V2, I mean, a whole different mod essentially, yeah? I mean,
Basically, I don't
realistically, adding
understand
the RMS.
what. Yeah, they. I mean, they added the RMS, but mine came set to mean.
Yeah.
So, like, if I didn't know anything about any of this stuff that's going on, and I get it, I have a 50-50 chance that it's going to be set to mean or it's going to be set to RMS, right?
Yeah.
So you don't know what mod you're getting if you are not somebody who's on the forums who, have been part of this whole, you know, like uprising or speaking
Yep.
out or whatever you want to call it. Um, I
Vapors
really
with
think that
torches.
mean option just needs to go away.
Pitchforks.
Yeah.
So does that change when you take the battery out? So you change batteries, you put it back in. Does it reset all those settings, or does it? I mean,
It
like the Pro Berry does,
loses
save your kind of last
on
input.
mine. It loses whatever the wattage or voltage setting is, but as far as whether it's RMS or mean, um, or what's on the display, it doesn't seem to lose that.
Yeah, it it stays on RMS. Yes, it would be
Yeah.
horrible. Oh my God, I would have
G-
been so mean to it.
yeah.
If it
Jeannie and
changed to mean every time I changed the batteries, that would have been mean.
Jeannie made a pretty insightful comment in chat here. She says, "I really think it's a bad device for new vapors," and I think she's probably right.
Well, I would think that, any device that has a button tap menu system is a bad device for new
Yeah.
vapors.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say the same thing about a Pro Vari. I wouldn't want to, unless somebody said I want to buy one device and be done and never touch anything else.
Right.
I don't think anybody would suggest a Pro Vari for a brand new
No.
vapor. And by that same token, I think people would be hard pressed to suggest something even same kind of idea, but a simpler implementation in like the Buzz Pro, which is just the dial. I don't think anybody would suggest that for a brand new vapor.
Well,
Maybe an Ego Twist.
the Buzz Pro is a viable option. I got a chance to use one at one of the Michigan meets for about 4 hours, and it seemed to vape very well. So I was happy with it.
I mean, I have
Yeah,
the
I
Buzz
think the
Pro
electronics are pretty
innards.
efficient.
Yeah. What were you saying, Mike?
What's I said I got the Buzz Pro innards in the Rio Woodville variable voltage and the Rio Grande variable voltage.
Mhm.
I can't fault those electronics. I mean, they work. Um, I probably would have preferred to see a DNA in there or something like a nibble or something with a screen. But you know, I don't know. I still can't take myself to buy something like the Buzz Pro, strictly on the fact that it doesn't seem like it's got too much style to it. I don't know. Maybe I'm a sucker for like the visuals.
Yeah, and the Infinity Pro is kind of like vaping on a flute. I mean, it's stupid long, and it's a pretty well put together device. There's a few things I never ended up reviewing one. I mean, I had one briefly for a while, but it just wasn't for me. It wasn't something I was going to use with any regularity. But I mean, is there anything else you think that needs to be said about the ZMax? I mean, what's the bottom line for a moderate to advanced vapor? Is it a definite buy, a strong buy? If you got the money to blow, buy.
With the pricing dropping down to areas below $100, it's a strong buy, I think. If you're not
Yeah, I
if
mean,
you're not a wattage regulation crazed person, that would be That would be my opinion. If you're completely jazzed about wattage regulation, then go somewhere else. But as a voltage regulated device, at least as far as I can tell, works fine.
Yeah, I
Good,
mean,
good, strong buy.
I'm I'm going to go ahead and say I did not witness any sort of a spike in the voltage setting. I mean, in the wattage setting, I just didn't see it. I tried, you know.
Maybe it's just
So
my unit. I
that's
don't
not
know.
happening. And you know what? I'm sure that these things vary from unit to unit, but I'm going to go ahead and say if you can't afford a $250, you know, Darwin that I mean are impossible to find, even when they are available. It's you got a couple minutes to grab them, which I think they were available recently because I know that one of my buddies picked one up. But if you can't get that, you can't get an Opus, you can't get a J box, um, you can't afford it or you can't get it. I mean, what else do you have to fall back on if you want to try out variable wattage? And mine works. I guess the risk that you run is that it might not work, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And Kaz, before we go, there's people out there who not go before we move on. There's
I'm out
people
of
out
here.
there. All right, peace out, guys.
Yeah, bye.
But there's people out there who use rebuildable atomizers, right? So you tend to have like a low ohm coil on that. So me and you were talking yesterday
Yeah.
about using low ohms. You use low ohms, and after I recorded that, I popped a 1.2 ohm atomizer on it, and what happened to me? The same thing that happened to you. So I think that it's pertinent to talk about that
Yeah.
real quick. Kaz?
Yeah. Well, what exactly am I addressing here? Because we talked about five different things on this.
The
So,
misfire.
oh yes. Um, I've had one instance where it fired after I took my finger off of the button and it kept going until cut off. That didn't make me too happy, but the fact that it stopped at cut off made me happy.
Yeah.
Um, the other one is misfiring, where the button doesn't always make contact. That's a rare occurrence, but it has happened, where I have to double tap the button in order to get it to go. And then the other issue is I've had some low resistance atomizers on here, and it will not activate.
Did
And for
you did you get like where it shows you the ohms?
yes, yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was getting last night. Where it was a 1.2 ohm atomizer. I press the button, it shows me the
right,
ohms, and I'm like, okay, thank you for showing me the ohms, but I want to vape.
right, and that's
Uh,
kind of
So,
counterintuitive,
but
though, isn't it, for something that's supposed to be able to do 15 watts? Go ahead, Basil. I just wanted to get that in.
where's the cutoff though? I mean, with an atomizer with that or a cartomizer, whatever it is, at that low resistance, I mean, at what point will it fire, or is there no point, no matter how low you set it, that it will still fire?
I got it to fire, but it was like intermittent, and it was like every three button presses it wouldn't fire, and it would show me the ohms, and I was running it at 3.6 volts RMS,
Right.
one battery. So I mean, that kind of, and I was like, man, I just spent hours editing and recording and all that stuff, and I was like, oh, Kaz was right.
Uh
And
oh.
that was, I think, one of the friendly things about, if you think back to the original iteration of the lava tube, is that if it got to a point where you were exceeding what the device is capable of, it would drop it down automatically.
Yes.
That was the one, I think, nice thing. If you wanted to say a device was a bit more user friendly for someone who wasn't as conscious of resistance and wattage outputs and amperage limits and things, that it would always fire. That was also, I think, my biggest complaint about the original ProVary is that the amperage limit was lower than some of the combinations I wanted to put together.
Right.
So if that's the case, I think with the Zmax, I can see people who get into odd combinations, where they're getting, there's people out there that say you should run a Genesis atomizer at zero point 0.7 ohms with an 18650 or maybe even stacked batteries. I've heard people, just doing
Right.
crazy stuff. And some of those people are naturally going to be disappointed, I think, with the ZMAX.
I wanted to point out two things. One, I believe it's Aaron Gatt is actually watching us from Italy, and I wanted to say thank you for coming in at this inconvenient time to watch us live. The other thing is he mentioned that he has a VMAX R4 and he's never had a bogus problem with it. And it's a funny thing. We were talking about something related to that, Aaron, and my comment on it is it's only going to take another 7 or 8 revisions before this is the perfect PV.
And
uh,
by that time, the market for the ZMAX will have passed itself. I mean, it won't
Yeah,
probably be a relevant device. The rate things move, I mean, like I said, think about it. 2.5 years ago, the expected lifespan of a low resistance atomizer was 1 to 5 days. And now, I mean, you think about things like the HH357. I've got three of them. I've had one that was used daily for 3 months, and it's still just as good as the day I got it.
right.
So, I mean, at the rate things move, the ZMAX is bound to be, I guess, a PV of yesteryear, if you will.
yeah, I would love to know now where everything is going
Yeah,
because I rack my brain and I just can't figure it out.
real
Where
quick,
else could
what does this do to the Provari? Does it cannibalize the Provari market? Do you think at $160 for a Provari, no batteries, just bare bones,
I have
eighteen
a
I
four
don't
ninety?
real
think so.
I'd
No,
like to plead
Go
the
ahead.
fifth.
like to plead the fifth.
Oh, I love my Pro Very.
I do too.
I love,
Well, I'm going to go, but I'll tell you what, Mike, you're usually the guy who gets himself in trouble, so I'm going to get myself in trouble here.
okay, you get yourself in trouble
It's
first,
it's it's either
and
gonna oh you're not gonna let yourself be outdone, huh? All right, it's either going to be that ProVape ends up lowering the pricing on the Provari as these new devices come out because this won't be the only one with these specs, and we'll see devices even better than this coming out of China as soon as they figure out how to do it. Or if Provari keeps their price high, you'll see a lower volume of Provaris hitting the market. But from my standpoint, I hope they lower the price on the Provari down to about $120 because that is an excellent device. And at $120 against 80, I think people would be willing to spend the extra money.
well, the question is, can they lower it? I wouldn't mind them keeping it at the same price, just upgrade it, and not like the V2 upgrade for it, where it's just like we're raising the amp limit. Give me a better screen, give me a different form factor or something. I mean, same form factor, but different design on it. I don't know. Um, add variable wattage, or I don't just do something. They're cranking them out and they're selling them, so I guess they don't really need to do anything. But
Yeah, I think the other thing too that for us and for some other places in the world, American made still kind of really holds some weight. And I think that will always keep Pro Vape from, I guess, bottoming out. I mean, unless products far surpass what they're putting out in the future, whether it's the Pro Very V3 or they come up with the Pro Waddy, or I mean, call it whatever you want, whatever their next device is. As long as
Pro
they continue to
Wadi.
kind of, yeah, the Pro Waddy. As long as they stay on top of it, I mean, I think if nothing else, that stamp that it's essentially American made or at least assembled here. I don't actually know where the electronics are coming from. Is is going to keep them going. I think it will.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Well, we did
oh,
this
and
in.
brings up a
Speaking,
good point. The what is it? The Vamo or something?
Yeah,
Vimo,
BMO.
whatever it is basically the ZMAX innards in a different tube. And I mean, it looks cheap, but I saw
yeah, it's
pictures of it.
50
Somebody was
bucks.
pointing at it. But yeah,
But
for 50 bucks.
is that the ZMAX? Is that the ZMAX with the RMS setting, or is it the
Yes.
old one? It is. Oh, okay.
Well, Smoke Tech does not make the chips inside the ZMAX. I know this for a fact.
Right.
Another company does, and they don't advertise they're making e-cigarette boards,
Right.
but they provide these boards. So I mean, like people could be mad at Smoke Tech all they want for the V1 of the Zmax, but it's not their fault. It's somebody else's fault. Well, it could be partially their
I mean,
fault
it's
because
it's
maybe
kind
they
of
were
their
like,
fault. They put it out, didn't they? I mean,
yeah, because they don't.
they should have
Well,
known
I mean,
better.
that's the thing. They probably didn't know anything about electronics. They just assemble stuff,
Yeah,
man.
and
They
you
don't know
know,
anything.
that's a good point too. Where we're still kind of on the VMAX, or sorry, ZMAX or QMAX, whatever it is these days. Uh, do you guys have the ones with the OLED screen?
Yes. No,
They
no,
are. They
no.
are.
I've
This
got.
is not.
Yeah.
There's
So
one
the
with an OE.
next, yeah, and that's the one that I'm waiting on. There was a co-op on New Vapor, um, that is for essentially the Zmax V2 with an OLED screen.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I wouldn't make this up. I wouldn't make this up.
yeah. We're now we've got obsolete equipment now. Since
God, you guys don't even
Spent
have the version
two
2.5
hundred.
yet.
I
Weak.
spent $200 in the past month on Z Maxes. I'm slightly angry.
Well, it beats having put that money in the stock market as of late, doesn't it?
yeah,
I got a 17.5 minute video out of it.
I'll send you a can of Cheese Whiz. Um,
Oh, thanks.
So,
that's what
is
I
there
get for
anything
videos.
more? Is there anything more really to be said about the ZMAX? Do you think? I mean, I don't want to belabor the whole thing, but I feel like we're
I just
kind
want
of
to
hitting
say
a
that I
wall.
do like the way it looks. And in Sense's
I,
video, he pointed out that he wasn't able to tell whether it was actually stainless steel, and I don't know. Um, it's not gonna make me stop using. Bottom line, it won't make it. When I'm done testing it, it'll be just one of the things that I use, but it won't get used as much as my Bombshell Stinger or my Provari.
Final thoughts, Mr. Field of Vapor.
I mean, even if the
Watch my
OLED
17-minute
screen is
video. You'll
coming
see
out,
all my thoughts.
I'm still gonna buy. I mean, I'm gonna buy the new one probably, but I'm an idiot. But yeah, I mean, final thoughts. I can't. If somebody's gonna ask me what I want a variable voltage, what should I get? Should I get this or that? This being something I hold dear, and that being the Zmax. I might just say get the Zmax for 80 bucks that it's gonna be in a month or so. Or I mean, I got mine for 100 on sale,
Yeah,
and that was like it just came out. So I don't know. I mean, do we want to let anybody call in on this, or do we want to move on
I think
to?
maybe we did this backwards tonight. We did news first, or we did news last. We've got some stuff. Do we have some stuff in the queue, news wise?
We got a
Yeah,
couple of
but
things. Yeah.
All right, why don't we?
I
I'm just as a suggestion. My vote is let's do that and then open the phone lines and we'll talk about anything.
okay.
I'm game. So I think, and I'll drop the link in here. Something that came across the Vapelink desk, if you will, is an interesting article about something that Marlboro is up to outside of the confines of the United States. So in China, apparently most of the tobacco sales are essentially government run. State, you can call it state owned. They're essentially government run, and Marlboro really has struggled to get any kind of a foothold in that market. So Marlboro is actually working on a vaccine for the flu, a flu vaccine that is made from a very specific, apparently, type of tobacco plant. So now you have one of the, I guess, biggest tobacco companies in the world, who also probably leads to the most cancer-caused deaths of any modern company. I mean, I would just assume that by default, right? Getting
It's an
into
assumption.
the medical field. which just
Diversification.
yeah,
Take that, China. You're gonna send
I
your
mean,
e-cigs over here. We're gonna send you vaccines. That's right,
Oh,
I
you
did it.
yeah. So I mean, I would be curious to see the medical science behind this and exactly what they're taking or what they're doing with this tobacco to somehow end up with flu vaccine. Doesn't that seem like a wild like conclusion to come to?
well, they came out with that vaccine that's supposed to inoculate you uh, from nicotine, turn your antibodies against nicotine molecules. They were also using the same thing for, I guess, heroin and stuff like that. And the question I have when they come up with these vaccines is, what if it vaccinates you against yourself?
I don't even know what that statement means.
Well, it's sort of like, a step beyond anaphylactic shock. I'm not sure that is it R.J. Reynolds that does Marlboro? Is that the company, or is it a separate
No, it's
business?
Philip
No,
Morris.
it's Philip Morris. Philip
Philip
Morris is
Morris.
Marlboro.
So Philip Morris would not be able to diversify into probably wouldn't be able to diversify into that here in the states very easily. There's some legal stuff here in the states that regulate what tobacco companies can get into and what they can't get into, and I think one of those places is the reason Lorillard can own Blue, but Lorillard can't put out its own e-cigarette, as I understand it.
What?
Something
No,
to
no, no,
do.
no, 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 no. If I would think that it's if e-cigarettes were going to be used as smoking cessations devices, right? Then they wouldn't be able to. I mean, because who is it? R.J. Reynolds has an e-cigarette out.
Yeah,
Well, I'd
yeah, they
have to
do.
I'd have to go back and look at the legislation. I could be completely wrong, and will admit to not being primed on this particular subject tonight. But I think it's interesting. Um, what worries me is if we get too caught out. Well, should we be thinking that that's tobacco companies are the devil? Should
I
because
don't
that's a
Well,
think so. I mean, it's the same thing
they're
with any company.
saviors.
They have been delivering a product that people wanted. Now, in the end, is that product incredibly harmful? Did they maybe sweep some of the research and knowledge they had under the rug? Did they add nicotine, other chemicals along the way? They did, but we all know that. That's been widely publicized for a long time, and people every year start smoking. So it's hard to say that they, are inherently a bad company and shouldn't be allowed to take the money that they've made and spread that into things, which by all means may save some lives, may be uh, good for the general population of the world.
yeah.
Well, I think that tobacco companies are good for our industry, for the e-cigarette industry, because then all of a sudden you got a whole bunch of money behind it, right? Money that we don't currently have behind our cause. And, maybe the outcome may not be what you, I, what the three of us want and what everybody else wants. But I think that there's a real fear that, you know, some of the stuff that we know now may go the way of the dodo. And, I think that tobacco companies getting behind it is a good help to keep these things around. But we're getting off topic. Sure, go ahead, make your vaccines. Thank you, Philip, Mr. Philip,
And Mr. Morris.
and Mr. Morris. Make your
Are you sure it's
vaccines.
not one guy? His name wasn't Philip
Inoculate
Morris?
this. It could be Philip Morris. That could be his last name.
I really don't know. I really don't know.
We should have been more prepared.
Yeah, but we're having fun, and that's the important part, I think. Um,
Yeah.
well, I think it's interesting and stuff like that. I think that actually stuff like this worries me a little bit. And one of the reasons that it worries me a little bit is that I know it's going to happen. I know that the e-cig business and is going to go corporate. It's going to become something that is normal and fully endorsed by corporate America and corporate China, which is already making huge investments into it. And the enthusiast part of this is where I wonder how much time we have left. Um,
Well,
because
it,
there's only so far. eh, I don't know. I mean, at some point, the differences and improvements in e-cigarettes become marginal, and so like I can get picky with the Zmax and say it's not a Provari, but to somebody who's been vaping an ego and they go to something like this is or like they did with the VMAX. They go to this and they think, well, this is absolutely phenomenal. I'm holding my Zmax up. You know, I wonder how much. I wonder how much. I wonder how much time we have before it's completely corporatized. Before it's not
Well, and
startups.
I think all those kinds of fears are what really drive people to either hoard devices, especially rebuildables as of late. I mean, the trend in everything anymore is some sort of hybrid. It's become some sort of rebuildable, and I think it's a safeguard against that. Because
Yeah.
if you always have that, you are guaranteed that you don't have to rely on an atomizer vendor or a cartomizer vendor or a liquid vendor,
Right.
especially if you go whole hog into it and you start making your own liquids. I mean, that's what you're safeguarding against is these sorts of things.
well, I mean, I'll tell you what. If we end up living in a world where I can get three Enjoy Kings for $6, and that's all that's available to me, I'm still a pretty happy guy.
Yeah. Have you tried the Enjoy King menthol as a complete aside and tangent?
I did. I actually have one Enjoy King left. I spent over $100, $112 on Enjoy Kings over the past 2 weeks, and they vary from how long they last. I like the menthol. It's a little less mentholy than I expected, but I don't mind it. My favorite is the red, the bold
Yeah,
standard tobacco. And I don't vape tobacco, man. But I'll vape that tobacco because it's got some sort of
it's
like
good.
some.
It's good.
There's some sensor in the back of my
Yeah.
head that's like, boop 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 boop. This is like a cigarette almost.
Right.
And I don't so much care for the menthol Enjoy King, but the others are. I think they're really good. I mean, for what they are, I think they're really good. I think they're going to be a great stocking stuffer, if nothing else, this Christmas season for the smoker in your life that you've been trying to get to try an electronic cigarette. Because even at $8 buying one for somebody is a pretty inexpensive way to give them what you know is going to be a decent performing device, if nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so I got a question for you, Basil. Have you bought any more of them since last time we talked about it last week?
Um, I found one that I bought that I thought I lost, so I got one back. And I bought the menthol because the first couple of times I saw them anywhere, I did not see menthol. I just saw the bold and the gold. I don't know if they were in the case, and the case was spun the wrong way because they're usually in one of those fancy little spinny cases. But I bought this, and I don't know. I mean, I used to smoke Newports from time to time when I smoked, and that's kind of what I weigh all that kind of memory is what I weigh all tobacco menthol vapes on, and this doesn't do it for me there.
Right.
Guys, what are you doing, man? Are you typing a book over there?
Well, what I did is I just typed into chat that our phone lines are open and put the phone number in there as well as on the
It's a
screen.
perfect segue.
You
Yeah,
are so
absolutely.
good.
We are just crushing the segues tonight, man.
Boom.
Unbelievable. Hey, we should talk about doing a community roundtable show, which we had been
Yes.
talking about
Yes,
doing for a while. Um, and since we have our our viewers here, what we're planning on doing is doing a roundtable show where a bunch of you, possibly up to 10, will be able to participate and be involved with the roundtable and be on camera with us if you so wish. And so we're interested in hearing from you about what you would like that to look like, and we'll talk about it. Did you have ideas about it, Basil?
no, I just think it's a great idea. One of the things that we've
No, I had to
that's
think about it for a second.
not such a
I
great
don't know
segue.
about 10
Uh,
people.
Yeah, you blew the segue.
one of the things that we've always wanted Vapelink to be was really driven by you guys. I mean, we can sit up here and, we've been doing this for a couple of months now. It's evident that if nothing else, we like the sound of our own voice and we will
Right.
just talk at you. And we've always wanted this to be a collaborative effort in terms of being able to, communicate with us and really drive what we do on the show. So this is another way for us to really kind of reel you guys in and bring you guys in and really make you feel like Vapelink is your program. And I think this is going to be a fun way to do it. Whatever we do panel wise, however often we decide to do it, maybe we do it once a month. We don't even have the ideas, I don't think, really fully fleshed out. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But we don't want it to be the same four people, the same five people, whatever that kind of panel is every time. We really want it to be a revolving kind of door of people that are really passionate about vaping. That's what we want it to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think at that point, if you guys want to come and chat with us, or talk about being on a show, you can always hit us up on our YouTubes. You can hit us up on New Vapor. We have a sub forum there. You can hit us up on ECF. We have a sub forum there.
Facebook, Twitter, you name it. We're everywhere.
Yeah.
I
So
am not on
and
Google
if you have
Plus,
any
I like
subjects that you think nobody's hitting on, and you think it's important, bring it up to us. We'll discuss it, and
Yeah.
maybe it could be something you could come on the show and we could talk about it.
Lord Devon just mentioned in chat, and I wanted to let him know real quickly, and then I'll hand it back to you, Mike. We are planning on doing guest hosts, and we have just not set a date for the first one, but we've already talked to the first person. So we're looking at doing that. Go ahead, Mike. I like listening to your voice.
And actually, Lord Davin, I've gotten to know him pretty well over the past, I guess, maybe a month and a half. He does reviews,
Yeah.
and we talk a lot about our differences of opinions, and we agree sometimes, we don't agree other times. Good guy, so Lord Davin, hit me up. We can talk about maybe you coming on the show if you have some free time.
So the phone lines are open.
Yeah.
So you know what?
And the number is 847-423-8581.
Right.
One of the other things that I think we wanted to talk about this week, and there's been a little bit of talk about it already in the chat, is some of the trends that we've started to see, I think in some ways being revived or kind of really becoming popular again, and it's rather timely as well. And that is the inclusion of an auxiliary USB output on a device. So the most recent kind of iteration of that has been the iTaste MVP, which has USB out charging. The other, classic, I think one of the very first of these kind of battery pack do-it-all devices was the Tech Mod, based around the Techion charger. Sense, I know you had some pretty strong feelings about the device.
This is why I feel that you really have to test something out, and you really have to sit down and think about it, before you get on camera and you start talking to people about it. Just because my opinion of the iTaste has gone back and forth, and just in general, the thought of having, all that crap on the bottom of the e-cigarette, and the whole idea of charging other devices with it, and I had an epiphany a couple days ago where I was like, wait a second, I have a crap ton of e-cigarettes because I collect them, right? So if I have a fully charged iTaste or Power Baby or whatever the other things that do this function where they charge other devices like your cell phone, if I have that, the iTaste filled up, and I don't have power and I need to charge my phone, yeah, that's fine, because I have 7 other e-cigarettes that I can use. But
we have a call, just so you know, so keep going.
Okay, so real quick, I'll finish this up. So I guess all of a sudden it hit me that it's not about me and my situation. It's about what the situation of people who are out there who may just be buying one device is. And I'm sorry, if I'm out of power for 3 days, I am not discharging my electronic cigarette. Even if I had two electronic cigarettes, I'm not sacrificing one of them to make a phone call when there are other ways that I can make phone calls.
Right, right. We ready for
So
this
we
call?
have a yeah caller. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Area code 814. You are on Vapelink. Hello, and who are we talking to?
Well, hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
How are
Hey
you,
there.
Happy? It's Jeannie.
Hi, Jeannie. What's going
Oh,
on? What's
I
on your
knew.
mind? Did you? I
No,
didn't get it.
I was
I'd
just
recognize
talking
that voice
about
anywhere.
when he was talking about the eye taste. Um, it is one of those things that people here on the East Coast have thought about a great deal lately. They all got
Hmm.
screwed. So a backup battery, it's not a bad thing. And if it's a half decent, reliable, variable voltage device, yeah, well, then it's multi-use. And for $60, what the hell, right?
Yeah.
I spent
Yeah.
a lot more money on my Zmax than that, and I'm really disappointed in that.
Well,
So, but
what is your take on this on the ZMAX? But let's. I want to get to that. Go ahead, Mike. You had a question, but I really want to hear her thoughts on the ZMAX when you're done.
Jeannie, what I wanted to ask you was, um, if I assume you have, well, you do have multiple electronic cigarettes. So I'm on the East Coast and I was out of power, and before the power went out, I charged up a whole bunch of 18650 batteries. And I charged my phone, my iPads, and I just wanted to make sure that I had power, um, in all of my devices. And then I got the eye taste after that, and I was like, oh, this is a pretty cool idea. I could have not worried about my cell phone battery life. I could have streamed a movie or watched YouTube or something like that. But then I started thinking about it like if I only had one or two or three and I was out of power for like 4 days, like a lot of people in New
Why
York.
would you have one or two or three?
What's that?
Why would you only have one or two or three?
Well, because lots of people only have maybe one electronic cigarette. Not everybody's enthusiasts like
That would
us.
suck.
That would suck. But just say that you did. So I guess I ran into today a situation where this guy Marco, who makes iPhone apps, actually posted about this exact topic, only minus the e-cigarettes, and he basically did like a rundown of what the best like charging pack is for keeping your iDevices or your cell phones or smartphones or whatever charged. And what he came to the conclusion was that the best idea is to get this charger. And Basil, I think you might have the link. It's like a $20 charger. It runs on four AA batteries, and it'll charge an iPhone almost all the way up. It could charge your e-cig if your e-cig dies. So, like, for me, I would rather have that device and charge everything from it and have a stockpile of AA batteries. But I'm always trying to look at things from different angles. So I do see your point that if you really had an emergency, you could hook your phone up. But I mean, what do you think of what I just said as far as maybe it would be better to have a separate device ran on AA batteries.
Well, me personally, um, you have to understand that at this time, every single mod I own. Now we're
Yeah,
talking mods. We're not talking e-cigs because I have egos. I'll never be without an ego. But
yeah.
every mod that I own, I have made sure that every single one of them will take an 18650 battery,
I think that that's smart.
which I have 16 of. So, you know,
That's awesome.
And
yeah,
they're
well,
all charged, right?
well,
Yeah. No.
yeah.
Oddly enough.
Oh, no, they
Yeah.
aren't. There's usually one 18650 in the field charger. So, I might have one dead one, but never more than that. But y- if they're going to talk about, the eye taste, and I was looking at the eye taste from the beginning perspective of, yes, it only goes to 5 volts. But for people to get into entry level, high, variable voltage, I don't think that a 3.7 or 6 volt device is a good device for them. I would sooner see them go with something in the $60 range like the iTaste, that they can go a tenth of a volt at a time and determine what voltage they like best.
How do you
Because
feel
that
about?
determines for somebody, yeah, whether, am I a straight 5-volt vapor? Am I not? Where am I in this range? And I was one of those oddball people that liked 4.4 volts. So, it would have been a really decent price device for me to do that testing and find out.
Well, what do you
Well,
think? What do you think about things like the Ego Twist? Do you like those?
I loved mine, and then I lost it.
Yeah, they don't warranty against loss, do they?
No, they don't.
No.
No.
And that's, you think back to the old, and actually that's the device Mike was referring to. I threw a link in the chat. It's actually a Techion battery pack, and you think all the way back to a couple of years ago when the Tech Mod was like the mod to have. It's the only mod that I've had for any length of time, at least that I can think of, that had the ability to charge something else. And you know what those devices are really great for? People who travel and maybe on a really long plane flight. Because you've got your iPod, maybe you've got some movies loaded up on your phone and you're watching them and you want to be able to charge it depending on what airline you're on. You may not have access to a charger. So for me, the Tech Mod was pretty killer on a flight to Manila. That almost came out odd, killer in Manila. But I had my iPod and I had the Tech Mod, and I, kept my iPod charged the entire 16-hour flight there, which is, with layovers and stuff, is closer to 20 hours, and still vaped on it, and it had barely, hit the orange marking on that, which back in the day, I mean, that was kind of the, your batteries, past middle of the road. You want to think about charging it eventually here. So I get the appeal and the value of those, but the implementation has to be right. And I'm not sure if, for me, the implementation on the iTaste is right for the way I like to vape now compared to back when I was perfectly fine with 3 ohm atomizers dripping on a Tech Mod.
But wait a second now,
Yeah,
Basil.
I look
If
at it
you're,
from the extent that my phone is almost always dead.
yeah,
It
Basil.
never is.
Basil, from the standpoint of, and this is an interesting point. Let's flash back to summer 2010 when we were new vapors. Okay, if someone gave you an eye taste, what are we looking at there? Are we looking at total win?
Back then, I don't even, probably. It's hard to say. I mean,
Okay,
I think even now there's a definite market for the eye taste, and I think they're going to sell a lot of them as long as, it doesn't turn out to be a device that has a high fail rate, or we don't discover something else in testing and hooking it up to meters and oscilloscopes and the ECD meter and everything else that's going to turn people away. I think there's going to be a big market for it. I mean, it's not a huge device. That was one other thing about the Techion, the old Tech Mods, is that the shape and things, you know, it it wasn't great, and I think the eye taste is better there.
yeah,
But we'll thank Jeannie for calling in. She's signing off. The phone lines are open
okay.
if anybody else wants to weigh in. But because I mean, where do you stand? Is there room in your vaping arsenal for a device that will charge another device? Do you
No,
think?
no,
No room?
no room. I don't need it. Part of the things that I suffer about, and thank you, Jeannie, for calling in. I
Yes,
always like hearing from you. Uh, I, you know, we're at a disadvantage. As much as we try to stay in touch with the vapor on the street, it's going to be next to impossible because we're just not in that place anymore. I mean, each of us have oodles of really great devices. It's a hobby we're passionate about. We're glad we don't smoke. We do this crazy show every Monday night. Um, I that is not something that's gonna do it for me. I mean, the Zmax was a stretch for me. I didn't need this at all. And we have another call coming in, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that. Area code 407. You're on Vapelink. Hello, who is this?
Hey guys, it's Davin. How you doing?
Hey, good. How are you, man? Welcome to the
What's
show.
going on?
What's up, buddy?
Hey, this is kind of weird. Never called in before. Hey, Michael,
Glad
how you
glad you
doing?
did. Glad you did. So what's up, my friend?
Well, I just wanted to chime in on this iTaste MVP, and I'm somebody who just is in love with this charger thing, and I thought it was gimmicky at first, like most of us did. Now, as Michael can tell you, I'm very proud of having the largest cell phone I could find after having a cell phone that was dying on me constantly. I just went out and got this Samsung Galaxy Note 2, and I had to show it to
That is a
Michael
big
when I
phone.
got it. But it's got a 3100 milliamp battery in it. And I had this Samsung Galaxy S2 for a very long time, and they did the Android update to Ice Cream Sandwich, and when they did that, the battery life was just atrocious. And for me, I suffered with that thing for months, where I couldn't go a full day at work. It got so bad I was going about 4 hours on a full charge on that thing. Now, even though I have this Samsung Galaxy Note 2, and this thing just outlasts everything. I mean, that battery is just fierce, and I get great battery life. I have been taking the iTaste with me everywhere because, for me, having that charger just seems to be a little bit of comfort. I feel better knowing that because my phone died on me so many times that when I feel that thing in my pocket, I just feel like, okay, I've got that extra oomph. Now, I haven't used it, to charge a device except for testing and playing and things like that. I haven't needed to, but for some reason, I have been grabbing this every single day, and it gives me that little bit of a warm fuzzy, just to know that it's there. Now, for a lot of people out there, they can't afford 5 or 6 devices, or the 38 and 50 that we have. We're a little bit extremist, but there are a lot of people that have to really decide what device is best for them. And when they do make a purchase, and it's a $60 purchase, which is not that bad, but when they do make that purchase, it's something that they're investing into, and this is the device for them for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And having a multi-feature like this, I think there's a good market for it. Like I said, I feel the warm fuzzy from it. I do enjoy having this thing in my pocket because it gives me that little bit of relaxation. But after months of my phone dying constantly, having that just, it's a relief I need right now. But having this big massive phone for the last 2 weeks is also been fantastic too. But that's, I think, the market for the iTaste. It's really those people who either want that little extra reassurance in their pocket, or they want that type of multifunction because it's one device that's going to replace two.
So, I'm not all gloom and doom on it. We talked about this in private.
Yeah.
I like it, but I guess I expected it to be smaller. And when I was thinking about that, I was like, what could you eliminate to make this smaller? And
Mm-hmm.
I thought that those ports on the bottom and whatever electronics that hooks up to, you could probably shave, a third of the size off of it if you take that out. So I was thinking, how often am I going to use that? So, I don't really have a problem with my cell phone dying because I buy Apple products. I'm kidding. Nobody thought that was funny.
Yeah, they don't make battery charging cases for that phone or anything because of
Yeah.
the battery life.
Oh, man. Wah, wah. Anyway, so I was just thinking, how often am I going to use that charging function? I just don't think I'm going to use it all that often. So I would have rather liked to see it a little bit of a smaller device. Does that mean that, like Genie this would work for her, because she has a lot of other stuff that she can vape, and this could be, a power brick. Uh, you know, your
And it could
situation
recharge
with
her
the
egos. I mean, at that rate too. That's the other thing, that in that, disaster type situation, you could very well use that to charge up your egos and do everything else. So I think it's tough too because, as reviewers, the four of us sitting here, we kind of like to make we think you should buy this or we don't think you should buy this. And this is one where it's always tough to separate what we think from what you should think. And I think convey that in a manner that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And this gets into one of those, it sounds like for you, Sense, maybe it's really not for me or not something that I would, pursue and chase after, but it might be the right thing for you kind of devices. Is
Yeah,
that is
I,
that
I
safe to
think that
say
there
kind
I
of how
think
you
there's
feel about
definitely a
it?
market for it. I would if somebody came up to me and said, what should my first variable voltage e-cig be? Um, I probably wouldn't say the iTaste. If somebody came up to me and said I want a second variable voltage e-cig, I might say get the iTaste because it's a great deal for the price and it works real well. And you have that added bonus that you could charge your cell phone, make a call. I mean, here's the other situation. You could plug in your cell phone, make your phone call, use a little bit of juice, not charge your phone up all the way, and then unplug it because you made the call that you needed to make. I mean, it could save people in a really bad situation where they had no battery power, they're stuck on the side of the road, and they needed to call somebody for help. So, I'm not all doom and gloom on it. I just, devil's advocate, I want to hit the other side of things too. What if we took that out? What if there was an iTaste MVP Mini that didn't have that, and you had a choice, and it was
Yeah,
smaller?
that's
Would
not a
you?
bad idea. I mean, I like that. Um, it's
Would
hard to
you still
call
keep
it
the
the. I guess
2600
you
mAh
wouldn't probably
battery?
call it the MVP. Maybe that's just the VP. The iTaste VP doesn't have the charging. The MVP does, because we know how they love to name these things: Zmax, Vmax, Xmax, whatever. This could be something there. Could be something there.
So
Well,
I'm
it does also have a 2600 milliamp battery too, so it's not just a charging unit. It is a long-lasting variable voltage as well. And this is 2,500 mAh Ego C twist.
yeah.
How about this is what I think everybody should do. I think everybody should go get an iTaste MVP and they should buy that battery charger that Basil pasted in the chat. And then they're totally covered and buy a whole bunch of AA batteries, the alkaline or the lithium type. And just you're totally set.
Until your
Anybody
atomizer dies,
until you're
and it's your
atomizer.
only one, and there's no shipping because the post office can't get to you. I mean, until that,
Oh,
you're set.
end of the Mayan calendar. Everybody charge your batteries.
Oh, you guys are
All right, on
bad.
that note, thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, Lord Devon, thank you for coming in. And before you go, let me
Hey,
ask you a
thanks.
question. Have you
Sure.
used or tested the ZMAX?
Not the new one, but the original I have, the ZMax.
Okay. Are you gonna get a hold of the version 2 at some point?
Yes, yeah.
I
I've got going to be getting that one and the one that's in coming out of $50. Is it Vamu,
right,
something
right.
like that?
We
Yeah.
just got another call. Well, I'd love to hear your impressions of that. Um, so if you get a hold of it, let's do that. And we're going to move on because we have another caller. So
Okay.
thank you so much for
Thanks, guys.
calling in. And area code 847, you are on Vapelink. Hello, and who is this?
Maybe
Oh,
you're not
hang
on
on.
Vapelink.
Well, they are. I don't know
They're
why they're.
whispering. No, they're not
It's a low
whispering.
talker. Look at you wearing a puffy shirt if you're not careful.
Hang on a second. I don't know what's going on. Hi, welcome to Vapelink. This is Michael and Basil and Sense, and you're on the air area code 847.
You've just been pranked by prankdial.com.
Somebody's being funny. Okay, good enough.
Well,
Good enough. So I think that exhausts our callers.
So I want to talk about this week's excursion to the UK.
Excursion to the UK.
I
let's hear it.
was in the virtual UK. I
To
went
virtual UK.
and the virtual UK. I went over to UK Vapors and joined up and started poking around over there. And I found this whole other world where Rebuildables, I mean, they can't even keep the Chinese knockoffs in stock. I mean, I can go and buy a Chinese knockoff at any US, e-cig store that carries them. They don't fly off the shelves. But I mean, like, they were getting excited about some of the Chinese knockoffs being in stock. And I was like, whoa. And all these tutorials, and there's this great guy, Todd, who does videos over there I'd never seen before. And I was like, wow. And, it kind of like, it's like, are we missing something? Is it the fact that, I mean, yeah, we're buying them, right? Obviously, Basil has a couple, I have a couple. But I mean, they are buying them in droves. And, is it because they're made over there? Do we have any U.S. made rebuildable Genesis style atomizers here?
Well, there's the Zen, the Z Addies.
Okay,
For
well,
sure.
besides,
We've got the
besides
Z
Zen.
Addies.
Besides Zen.
There's the Atom and the DEFCON from SNS mods.
Atom. Are these ever in stock? Can we get them?
I'm not sure. The DEFCON Mini is basically a line clone. Yeah, there's the Bliss, the AC9. Those are over here. Those are made here.
Oh yeah?
I feel like there's another one. Yeah.
I feel like I mean, I was thinking that most of the stuff that's on the US sites were like imported and resold here. So, I saw like one site was selling Orions and stuff like that. And of course, none of their rebuildable Genesis style atomizers were in stock. And I was like, well, what's the point if they're never in stock? And that brings me to, these things are hard to get, because once I went over there, I was like, I really want to buy a couple more, because I have some, but I have some of the earlier ones, like the line. And I wanted to get some of these new ones. And I actually talked to Lord Davin about it just the other day. And he was showing me some of the Chinese knockoffs. And I don't want to do the Chinese knockoff. I'd rather spend the money and get the real deal.
I suppose there's also the one that I've had in my hand most of this show, the iHybrid. How I didn't think to mention that right away is mind-boggling.
Oh my.
But that's made here.
So, I mean, what's the deal? Like, can we get some people to make some more of these for me, please?
Well, I think with some of this stuff, the 3D printing revolution is going to make an impact. Cole, who did the ECD meter, now has a 3D printer. And he's literally making cases for the ECD meter. And I'm very, very... my mind is getting blown by it, and I think it's a technology I'm going to get into because I have a computer background. And I just see it changing things. It for small startup companies, it changes the playing field between China and the United States as far as manufacturing goes, evens out when 3D printing is executed on an industrial level. But at the same time, somebody in a small apartment could buy a 3D printer and start creating useful products. And I think that's probably going to have an effect on some of the mod stuff that we see in the next couple of years.
Well, you know what? I think that it's not just going to have an effect on mods. I think it's going to have effect on our whole lives.
I agree.
Like once you can print metal objects, you know, it's going to be okay. I want an AC9. I want it now, and it's going to be like I buy the
You
file.
buy the print file
Yeah.
for it or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I download it, I open it up, and I print it. This is going to be the future. China should be so scared.
Well, and
Well, they're
that's one
actually
of the.
printing.
Go ahead, Basil.
They're actually printing organs to
Yeah.
transplant with
Yeah.
3D
And
printers now too. I mean, it's wild.
and the thing is that this is something, and I always run into this, and I don't want to get into politics, but I only want to say that Basil and I are on opposite ends of the spectrum in some ways. But he and I will agree on this point very strongly. This is something that the United States is very, very good at. Uh, we came up with the automobile. Oh, we have another call coming in. I'll go ahead and put it on hold here, and then we'll pick them up in a moment. Hi, just hold on, caller. Um, we're very, very. We came out when we had Detroit, and we had all of that industry that went along with it, plus the steel mills and all the other industrial stuff that goes along with creating a car. The next revolution that we did was the computer revolution. And the computer revolution spawned the same kind of industrial growth, where you had not only the chip makers, but the people making components for the chip makers. When I talk about components, it's specialized silicon, specialized computer systems, and physicists actually being paid decent wages to produce something. And I think that the next revolution that we're going to see is a direct outgrowth from computers, and I think that's 3D printing, and I think it changes everything again. Because that's what the U.S. has done for 150 years, is create a technology and exploit it until it gets offshored, and then come up with another technology. It's what we've done historically. We continue to innovate, which I think is a really, really great thing. So that's my pro-American speech.
Well, somebody just said in the chat that China is going to make the printers. China can make the printer and then sell me the printer, and then I'll print another printer.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
and the other thing is what happens when you go and print a printer. I mean,
you
It's a
can print
multiplicity
multiple
effect.
printers, and now you're a manufacturer.
yeah, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We have a call on the line. Let me bring them in before we do a wrap up. Area code 224. You're on Vapelink. Thanks for calling.
Hello, this is Mark.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
How you doing? Real good. How you doing, Cuz?
Doing real well. What's on your mind, my friend?
Wanted to mention a new Addy tank that is made in this country by hand. It's made by S&S Mods. It's the newest one. It's called the Atom Bomb. It's a really sharp-looking Addy tank made by Chopper at S&S Mods.
Cool.
Okay, Atom Bomb. I'm looking it up right now.
Outstanding. Mark, do I know you?
Yeah, it's Mark Osborne, Longhorn.
Oh, hey, how are you? Mark is a friend of mine from the Windy City meets who was vaping for about 3 minutes and started making his own mods, which was very impressive.
Yeah, that's true.
He's got a mod that he completed that's 2 project boxes face to face with I won't say who made the regulator in case you don't want anyone to know, but with this regulator that does how many watts?
It will go up to 28 watts. No, I'm sorry, not watts, volts.
28 volts. And what's the watt limit on it? Do you know?
Wowzers.
Oh well, I mean, it depends on what you have on it, of course. But
Right.
I use it at around 6 to 7 watts because I
Right.
don't like that hot hit.
Sure. Sure.
I'm looking at this Atom Bomb, and I want it. Nobody buy it until I buy it.
Nobody buy it.
Each one's handmade. It'll take you about probably a week and a half to 2 weeks to get one.
I can wait a week and a half, 2 weeks. I can't wait 6 months on a list.
There you go. Well, you won't have to do that, that's for sure.
So I can order this right now, eh?
Yeah, I mean, you should be able to. You need to. I would think also that you're going to want to send an email to Chopper, and you should be able to do that through the SNS Mod site.
Wait, is this Chopper guy?
His name is Chopper, yeah.
It's not Chopper Guy, is it? It isn't the guy on
No,
ECF.
it's not Chopper Guys.
Okay.
No,
Good.
absolutely not.
Good.
Okay, because if it was, I wasn't gonna order. So let's just make that clear.
He has absolutely nothing to do with Chopper Guys, and he'll let you know that real quick.
Okay, Chopper has, I want to put this on the record, Chopper has nothing to do with the other guy who's kept everybody's mods. So.
That's correct. Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. More than nothing. Or less than
Yes,
nothing.
correct.
Right. Absolutely.
So, I mean, this is what I'm talking about, though. I mean, like, okay, so, like, when these things first came out, I was, like, really into getting them, and I was getting on all of, I mean, I'm still waiting on 2 Chronos mods to use with my Genesis LVs, the GLV Genesis atomizer. So, like, I was really into buying these things, but, you know, then, like, it turned out where I was on lists for, like, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, stuff like that. One of them I've been on for over a year now. And, you know, I kind of gave up on it, and then everything moved forward, and all of a sudden it went from these were co-ops to, you know, people are actually making products out of them that they're selling on sites, and you know, they're making hundreds and hundreds of them. So, like, to see something like this where I can get one for $55, why get a Chinese, you know?
And it works really, really well.
Yeah, so...
And if you, if you don't want to make your own stainless steel wicks, he'll make them for you. You can buy them from him.
Oh, I'll do the stainless steel wick. I actually had the hybrid mini. That was my first mod. How about that? I spent like 4 days learning how to make a wick and a coil. But
There you go.
yeah, so you know, hey, this looks really cool. As soon as we get off of this, I'm gonna send an email.
No, make it a first. While we're closing up the show, you should actually make the order. It'll be a Vapelink first. That's really cool, Mark. Thanks for bringing that to our attention. Go ahead.
If you're going to get that, you should also get a couple of his juices. He makes his own juice too, and has about 5 different juices you can choose from. The one I recommend is Grumpy's Hooch.
What a name.
Nice. All right, I'll definitely take a look at that too. Awesome. So, I mean, that's what I like to see. I like to see that these things are you know, somewhat easy to get a hold of. 2 weeks is not a lot for me to wait. But when you're going over a month, I waited for a Genesis for 6 months.
Never ends.
They're gonna
Never
sell
ends.
out of them, and this gets posted on YouTube now. But all right, hey, that's cool. Thank you so much for letting me know that, because I've been itching to buy something new all week. So,
Well, there
Yeah,
you
Mark.
go. Now you got something to buy.
Mark, thanks a lot for calling in, and next time call in earlier in the show so we can talk to you and pick your brain, because you got some really cool
sounds good
ideas.
to me, man.
We'd love to have you on. So I'm going to let you go, and I guess we're going to do show wrap up. Basil, we're ready to go.
Yeah, there you go. So, Zmax talked about some Marlboro action, some rebuildable / charging your mods from your mods and charging other things from your mods. Final thoughts, Mr. Kazakan?
I have absolutely decided that I like doing this show every week, and that I marginally like the Zmax, so I'll turn it over to Sense.
hey guys, I think it's been a lot of fun. Just getting better and better, and the Zmax just getting better and better. Mods in general, vaping, just getting better and better. So that's my message of the week. Everything's getting better, and it's gonna get even more better. Is that English? I don't even think that's English. Betterer? I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. something
Take
like
us
that.
out.
All right. Before we go, just a quick Vapelink update. Our website has been redone. I'm sure you guys watching have seen the uh, the redone website. We hope you like it. Please give us your feedback on that through any of the myriad of ways you can get in touch with us. We'd like to thank TVN, VapeNet, ECF, New Vapor, and last but not least, Vapor Trails for their support of the program. And with that, Basil, take us out of here.
There you go, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you again next Monday. Replays will be up if you missed part of the show or missed the whole thing and you're seeing this by replay. Thanks for watching the replays. If there's new ways that we can bring the show to you, we want to do it. So please get in touch. Until we see you next week, take care.
This is going to be of the Smoke Tech telescope. I felt compelled to make a video now. I believe that there are safety issues with this. Let's get into the safety issues first. Vent through the threads here. I doubted that. That is airtight. Airtight. Nothing is venting. Final. End of story. I did it with a balloon.